Sonia.
Hi, Lou. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you for doing this video. I know you're in London right now. I'm in France, and it's such a delight to be speaking with you today and getting your advice and your recommendation for this in this time. It's quite particular, very special, different, unique time. We never had this before, so I would love to hear your advice, your recommendations. You inspired millions of people. I've interviewed you many times. I love interviewing you. You have great advice, and you're such a spirited soul, and you're intuitive. So I would love to hear your thoughts right now on what's going on. How do you vision this global situation around the world?
Well, I appreciate that, Lilou, because I actually think that what's happening in time is that we are ending an era of consciousness that has been very destructive and has deteriorated. It's the end of patriarchy, and we are entering into what is called the ascension process, which is a global shift of consciousness into a far more heart-centered, maybe a bit defined feminine, but I don't want to tilt that to think of this as a feminist thing. It's really more about a balance to move back into our higher heart-centered awareness. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it's interesting, we're having this conversation on April 5th because in the mystery schools and in spiritual domains, the actual beginning of this new era was yesterday, 4/4/2020, which is 444.
But there's been many of those dates. I mean, we know that right. I went even to see the Mayas back in the
right. But
21st
this is
of December.
About the 444 is the new foundation. 4 is a foundation number in the earth plane. What's so interesting is that I really believe that humanity, we got kind of disconnected from our hearts and souls at such an exponential level and at such an exponential speed. If you think about, we're coming off of the age of selfies and everything's out here and look at me and it's all surface and very disconnected and very unconscious in so many ways, has just skidded to a crashing halt. Everybody has been sent home. Everybody is being shut down, and we are being sent. And I don't think it's accidental that we're being sent home. First, our external container of home, if we're fortunate, but more importantly, the true home of self, which is the spirit and the heart. You know, humans don't even have, you know, to recognize life in a body, you listen to the heartbeat first. That is our indication that a spirit is here.
Yes.
Life. So at this point, we are being saved. It's a bit of a bitter medicine for some, a little bit easier for others, depending on your level of preparation internally in consciousness. But we are basically being interrupted from driving ourselves off the cliff as a humanity with our lack of sensitivity and awareness of one another, our me against them consciousness, our detachment from the environment. All of those things have been a problem for some time, but they haven't really been addressed. And even in the short 2, 3, 4 weeks of containment that have happened, our whole environment has shifted. I was doing an interview with a gentleman from India a couple hours earlier, and he said New Delhi, which is the most polluted city in the world, has completely improved by over 40% in air quality in a week. So there's a lot of evidence, not just anecdotes. There's a lot of evidence that while the experience of having everything disrupted has been beneficial. So we have to, I think in this pandemic, we have to look at this as our invitation to change our consciousness, our behavior, and our relationships with ourselves, one another, and the planet. And we have no choice. the roller coaster left the station. We are required now, where earlier we were, the higher consciousness was being hinted at. We were taking our time. We were all allowing ourselves to evolve at a pace that was very easy. And now we've been put in a hothouse incubator that says, now is a change point. You cannot continue as a race on this planet the way it was going. Now, of course, we always get our attention when we are dealt with something unexpected and threatening. And as far as the souls who are actually being affected by this virus, I really think that they are heroic souls in terms of the consciousness and the evolution of our planet, because they're the ones that got our attention. And I think that we need to be very grateful for all the souls who came. We're all together in this because we have chosen to be. No one's a victim in this experience, but some of us have chosen more difficult roles in this experience. Those who are the frontline medical caretakers, those who are struggling really with the COVID virus itself, those people who have lost their jobs and have been really challenged materially. All of those people on a soul level volunteered to be helpful in quickly elevating the consciousness of our planet. And because of their role and because of what we're facing, the planet is elevating very quickly. We have seen in only a matter of weeks what we never thought we'd see in our lifetimes.
Yeah. Is there a role, you heard the term, I often heard it during the interviews I've done, the light workers, like, is there a particular role right now for light workers? Is it time to really show up? It kind of felt like before was preparation time, and now things are really moving fast. And as you said, it's about regrouping our energy and shifting whatever needs to shift still and move forward.
I do think that every single person who has been on a conscious path is on a soul level a light worker. They have left what we call the lower consciousness or 3D consciousness of just seeing themselves as ego and body and really recognize themselves, ourselves as spirit. So the light in us is the consciousness, and the worker is bringing it to the planet. Now, one of the things I'd like to suggest to everybody who is in this is to recognize and go deep within and check with themselves to see if they feel this is true, that I chose to be here and I have been preparing through maybe through my books, through my meditations, through my classes, through my conversations. They were leading to this point. So you know, my ego mind is going, whoa, what the heck just happened? Go deeper. And ask yourself, do you truly feel blindsided? Or are you just a bit surprised this has happened now so fast? Then secondly, what this is about is for us each individually is to see ourselves as a co-creative leader. And that we have, as a consciousness on this planet, every one of us has an equal vote and an equal influence as to how this turns out and how quickly we evolve. It has been the virus itself has taught us a great equalizer. Nobody's more or less privileged. We're all equally vulnerable, but at the same time, we're all equally powerful. And our power is centered in two things. One, if you really take the recommendation of go home to mean go back to the heart, that is your power. That is our power. And in that power, choose to create a new reality rather than be diminished by appearances and fear and feeling victimized as though this is bigger than me. It's not. Every one of us, even the fact that we choose and go home, puts us back in power. In our own home, in our own bodies, in our own hearts. We are not vulnerable. We are empowered. And then from that place, begin to go to that place in your heart and say, What is this about for me? What can I consciously choose to create from this? What do I consciously let go of from this? Let's not spin around our heads and react to the outer world. Let's go inward. Let's step into a position of power and recognize the choices I make not only will determine the quality of my own future life, but the quality of life on this planet. And in a big way. No one is a sideline player right now. So we need to change the conversation away from reactivity and shock and awe. We've had enough of that now. We've had time for that. We've adjusted. First we're surprised and we're going to rally, and then we go, oh no, and we've been through all those phases. And now we're in the phase where we are asked to decide what I'm going to make this about for me. Mm-hmm. If parts of my life are interrupted, perhaps it's because there are other parts of my nature that need to be allowed. If parts of my life are stopped and arrested, those parts obviously needed to be in some way, but what creative parts of me now can come forward? We have choices in consciousness. If my physical life is restricted, okay, but my spiritual life is amplified in this experience. So I now, because I'm not in such a pace and caught up in the outer world, I actually can stop and check in with myself now. I actually can become aware of how I actually feel in my own body, in my own experience right now. And am I using the tools as a light worker that I have learned? Am I using them? Do I actually believe I create my own reality? Do I actually believe I'm a co-creator? Am I actually using my consciousness to create a reality right now for myself? Or was it just entertainment and distraction? See, this is the time to say, okay, I've learned the tools. Am I applying them now? Am I actually meditating? Am I actually praying? Am I actually expecting miracles? Or am I just melting down? And now is the time to choose. To be, you've been in light worker preparation, but now is to be in light worker action. And yes, the virus shows how much we affect one another. The same effect with our consciousness is equally true. My prayers can affect thousands. My intentions can create and uplift millions. I know that's one of the interesting things about this virus is it is reminding us of how we affect one another. And it's a mystery how the virus travels. And I believe it travels energetically. I believe that it's teaching us that we are connected. It's teaching us that no man is an island. It's reflecting back to us what's true, that we are all in this together, that our consciousness is shared, but by the same token, we can be positive contributors of equal enormity, absolutely. And if we choose to use the tools we've been preparing, we can create miracles, including the miracles will show up in maybe a sudden slowdown of the virus. Maybe it'll show up in 15, 20 different remedies that treat people. It'll show up simultaneously in a lot of ways very quickly if we choose. What I want people to know is if you go into your heart and you start using the tools of being a co-creator, of being a conscious divine soul, and raising your consciousness, raising your vibration, raising your attention to higher frequency, you open a portal. and the divine forces can get through to us more quickly,
Yes.
including healing and answers and turning this around. So if you don't have to come up with some big idea, just be a peaceful person. Be peaceful in your own consciousness, and you open the veil for inspiration and guidance to get through to the sources that will help us.
And I'm just so happy we got to have this conversation and put it out on the web. This is so, so good to hear it. And it feels like it's really uplifting our spirit and the vibration. So thank you so much for that. And those moments where we freak out, those moments where we say we're
normal.
It's taking some time.
Well, here's the thing. We have to separate that we have a lower self and a higher self. We have a kind of a physical, and our physical body and our logical brain are a bit more like our animal self, okay? They're not negative. They're just our lesser self, our lesser empowered. So that part of our nature finds security in routine. It likes the predictable. So when we disrupt the routine so dramatically, so quickly, that more conditioned self is going to panic. So rather than getting upset or judging yourself, it's normal. But you need to know, I am having a reaction to change, but I am not really threatened. It's just the point of power is shifting from my ego self to my spiritual self. I'm being pushed up. So I can freak out and feel powerless, or I can move that energy, scream, cry, go in the shower, sing, dance, run, walk, move the reactive energy. But no, the part of me that's freaky is the part that does need to give up control. That lower self needs to surrender to our higher self. So you tolerate the reactions, but you recognize that these are the reactions of a limited point of view. They're not reflections of truth. They're reflections of my fear and anxiety of being out of control. The ego is always out of control anyway. It's just a moment of truth that, oh, I guess I was under the illusion. And then, without judgment, you begin to say, well, I'm not going to judge that, but I am going to recognize that that wasn't a safe place to be anyway. I need to go to my divine self for reassurance, not to my ego or other people's egos. It'll just be worse. I need to go inward. I need to get quiet. I need to after I move the energy, because you have to know the ego self, when it gets freaked out, it releases a lot of adrenaline in your body. Okay, so you're in fight, flight, freeze, and that has to be moved. It can't just be locked down. So there's a lot of ways to move that. One, physically, if you're able to walk, breathe, sing, take a shower, any sort of things that kind of move the energy. It can pretty much move in about 20 minutes. This is not a long, lengthy process. You can move adrenaline through your body and calm down in about 20 minutes. What won't work is if you sit and talk about it, okay? And what'll make it infinitely worse if you take your ego house on fire and go talk to 10 other people's ego's houses on fires. Then you have a forest fire. You just have to say, okay, I am having a reaction because my routine is upset. And my physical ego nature is reacting to lack of control. But I can go to my spirit once I move this energy and calm down. And here's a quick way. I showed this to you the other day. Just take a breath in through the nose and then go, open the jaw, and you have to let out the sound, and you feel yourself, what I call sliding home. You literally end up in your heart space, and it's quiet there. There is no freak out in the heart space. It's quiet. And in that space, you ask your spirit, guide me, guide me. And then you have to know your spirit will guide you through feeling, not through words. So it's a listening state, to listen to the feeling. You ask your spirit, am I really in trouble? Listen. Your spirit will reassure you. Is this really the end? No, it's the end of what's familiar. It's not the end of everything.
Yeah,
So,
and including the relationship to money and abundance. That's a big one.
Well, that's a huge one because that's part of survival. So, and a lot of people are being asked, for example, well, I just lost my job. Okay, possibly, but you lost a job. There's many other creative resources you can draw from. This is a creative opportunity. This is the time to go into the spirit. For example, a lot of people know this about me. Many years ago, I was a flight attendant and stayed friends with many of my flight attendant friends. They all lost their jobs. And a good portion of them have now become delivery people, helping in medical situations because they were medically trained in emergencies. So the people who were creative just moved into a different form of creative resource. So it's a time to say, okay, I've lost this job, but what else can I do? And ask your spirit, lead me, move me, guide me to the next expression, because it could very well be what I really want to do in life anyway. Maybe the job I had wasn't the job that was my soul serving at its best, most creative. And abundance, not just being money, but abundant feeling of satisfaction. So, and you know who taught me this was my mother, because she was in World War II as a child in a prison of war camp. She said nobody had a thing after the war. The whole, everything was just completely poverty stricken and no food and but boy, were we creative. We found ways to respond to the situation, and brilliant things came out. And this is for those, yes, if our lives are disrupted, they're not punishment, they're invitations. Difficult ones to receive, perhaps. Have your reaction, but go inward in your spirit and say, how can I serve best right now? Using the resources and talents I have. And you will be guided, because there's no lack of jobs. There's just a shift of where people are needed.
Thank you so much for those words, Sonia. It feels so good to our hearts. You always show up. I can see how your spirit moves, because you do show up where it's needed. I mean, hence this interview is another example.
Exactly. And the universe will always have plans for you if you get your own plans out of the way. And yes, we are being asked to change. And ask yourself, did I lose something that I absolutely loved, or have I finished it and now it's time to do something else? Because I feel that this is one of the most incredibly creative moments, and I feel honored and excited that we all talked about this, we all read about this, we all channeled this, but we're in it. This is an incredible moment in time in the evolution of humanity. And we are in it, and we are part of it, and we can choose to make this a moment that really allows my spirit to take over. Not my victim, reactive, petty, scared, non-creative part. We all have that part. It'll come up. I always call that part, your ego is like your pet. Okay, I always say it's like your pet dog. It's your companion. So you don't shoot the dog, okay? We don't kill our ego. We train it.
Yeah.
To be quiet, to learn, to listen, to quit barking, to quit adding more noise and confusion to the conversation so that we can rise up and really begin to receive real guidance. In 3 weeks, humanity has been kinder to one another than we have been in 300 years. In 3 weeks, our planet has had such a benefit that it has not had since the Industrial Revolution. Rise up and see what's good about this and where can I contribute. Not let me complain because this is scaring me. Yeah, we could all be scared. But if you're a light worker, if you've done your spiritual work even a little, trust what you've studied and learned. Trust that what you yourself worked to learn is real. Trust those books you read, those lectures you attended, those classes you took from teachers along the way were real. And now use the tools. You were given the tools. Now use them. And they will protect and take care of you and help our planet heal more quickly.
Yes, you wrote many books, Sonia, and a lot of us have you in our little shelves, on our shelves. Which one would you recommend right now that we pick?
I think the one that would provide the greatest amount of comfort and a support is Ask Your Guides. Because we are really working with some divine forces to help us right now. And they're trying to help us wake up to that we are spirits too. And we can be spirit guides, earth angels right now. I think that one would give us the sense, because the ego feels like I'm alone. I'm home and I'm alone and I'm cut off. And the Ask Your Guides will help you realize you're not alone. You're deeply loved and connected, as we all are. And that this world right now needs your loving spirit, and you will receive guidance in this. I want to share a story. In 2008, we had a very minor precursor to this when there was an economic meltdown, global meltdown. This was when all the mortgages crashed. And I had a client who was just on the verge of moving to Silicon Valley to do a startup business. She was given $1 million salary to be a CFO. And she had to uproot her family from Chicago to go to San Francisco. It was very exciting to her ego, but family was not on board. And then the .com crashed. So just the 2 days after she accepted her job, the whole thing crashed. And it just initially devastated her. And about 2 months later, she started doing work helping women who were really suffering in corporate culture and really being abused and tormented. And it became the most meaningful life work that she has ever had. And now we're nearly 20 years later. That was 2008. It's 22 years later. She said that crisis got me off the high of just money and power and made me self-reflect and started me on a path of real meaningful work that didn't pay me $1 million initially, but paid me a sense of value as a human living a good life. So I just want to say, we've been through other things. We will get through this. But if you choose to want to get through it, not as a victim, but as a co-creator and as an invitation that there is something in you that wants to be born now and will be really beautiful for you, for your relationships, for your family, for this planet, now's the time. So I really, and it's not to minimize, I actually think I have corona. I actually think I had it all week. I've had the terrible cough and the fever and so it's not fun. But the other thing that's interesting about the actual virus, a lot of people who are having this virus are also having spiritual visions. They're actually beginning to break out. Yeah. Even there was a famous reporter in New York. His name is Chris Cuomo. He's the brother of the governor of New York State. He said, I had a vision. in my fever the other night, I was talking to my dead father, and he was right on my bed. And I will tell you, it was my father. It wasn't a dream. It was my father. He said,
Wow.
my whole reality has changed.
Yeah.
So there's so many layers to this that are breaking open the veils and making us aware that we are multidimensional. So it's like I say, it's an interesting invitation. It's a challenging medicine, but it's not a nuclear war.
Yeah.
It's actually a very livable challenge. If we really settle down, this is a livable opportunity. It's actually merciful opportunity for us to grow, because our remedy is just go home.
Yeah. I have a last little request, if you accept, is because I know how much you love praying and you.
Yes.
Is there a prayer that you would like to share with us,
I
or
would
right
love
now
to.
for everyone listening that we could be with?
Right. Prayer, first and foremost, is the way for us to go and sit in the lap of our Creator and be loved and reassured at the deepest, most energetic level possible. Prayer is an opportunity for us to be filled up. So I want people to know that we're not praying out of desperation and fear. We're praying out of, I get it. This is where I draw my resource. This is where I draw my comfort. This is where I draw my guidance. So with that, I would just ask everybody to take a breath in through the nose. Exhale your fears like you're blowing out candles on a cake. Breathe again, slowly, slowly. And just like going down a slide, open up and let out a deep sigh. Ah. And at that place, at the end of that sigh, is your divine home. It's where your spirit enters the body, where it lives. And allow yourself to smile. As you breathe and you feel the curtains of your heart open up and the light of God flood into your body. And as that light floods in, we ask the Holy Mother, Father God, all the loving light beings in service to our human experience on this planet at this time, to fill my body as I breathe, to reassure and calm my fearful mind. Please soothe my troubled emotions and help me remember who I really am. As I breathe in the light and love of you, help me find my creativity, my courage, and my confidence. And as I exhale, let me release my confusion and my distress. As I breathe in, let me awaken to the joyful understanding that this shift is for the greater good of all concerned, including me and my family. That no one is left behind, no one is outside. We are all contained in love. Guide me, Divine Spirit, to my highest and most brilliant ability to serve. Guide me to be a light, to be part of the solution, to be part of the healing. Move me in the direction of my highest good and the good of all concerned, my mind, my words, my body. And I trust that as I surrender myself, I will be put in perfect alignment with my highest plan. And for that, I thank you. And so it is.
So it is. Wow. Oh my God, this should spread. We're going to spread this like a love virus everywhere.
Let's spread this. I like to say, let's spread a miracle consciousness. Let's spread the consciousness of that we as co-creators are being asked now to put our awareness to work and have the delightful surprise of discovering that it does work, that we do have the power to create and heal our own lives and the planet. and its power can be put into practice now. Now's the time.
Yes. Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you
my
so much
pleasure.
for
It's
this
my
delicious
pleasure.
moment with you and these inspiring words. And please, all digital co-creators watching this video, please share it, and because this feels really, really good. Thank you. The timing is absolutely perfect, Sonia, as usual. Thank you for listening
Thank
to
you.
your heart and being
All
such
my
a powerful
love.
guide.
All
All
my love.
back to you. Thank you so much.
Bye.